Welcome back, Huddle Up Podcast. It is the 5 Observations with Big Jim. I am your host, Big Jim. I just want to apologize for not getting a 5 Observations out last week. Just the weekend kind of got away from me, and it was just kind of a weird week of sports. I didn't have a lot of time to dedicate to watching, analyzing, thinking about sports last week, so I kind of took the week off there. But episode number 18 of the 5 Observations, and before I jump in, I just want to remind everybody about Huddle Up Podcast and Huddle Up Podcast Incorporated. If you notice, the logo on the podcast feed has been updated to the new Huddle Up Incorporated. Again, shout out to Mikey B that does the 5 for Fighting podcast, the NHL coverage here on the feed, for kind of giving us that name and moniker, and we're just kind of rolling with it. So we will of course every week we have my 5 observations, which is general observations in just the world of sports, and one with EJ, our weekly NBA podcast, 5 for Fighting with Mikey B. That is a weekly NHL podcast, The Pitch with Matt, covering baseball and soccer. So we have all of that, and then we will have the Huddle Up podcast crew, the one that we've done the live shows throughout the regular football season. We'll be starting our off-season program. We'll be sitting down to record our first set of episodes here at the end of March. So look for that. End of this month, beginning of April, and we will work through the spring and summer before football is back. NFL football, because there is football now. More on that later. But yeah, just make sure you are subscribed on all podcast platforms, YouTube as well, so you never miss a second of the action here on the Huddle Up podcast feed. The Huddle Up Podcast Incorporated feed. All right, let's jump right into it. My first observation this week, and this is coming off of the Players' Championship weekend in the world of golf. I just wrapped up watching the Netflix documentary series Full Swing. And if you have not watched this, if you're a golf fan, I mean, honestly, I even said this to some people I work with. Like, I don't even think you need to be a golf fan. I'm not even 100% sure you need to be a sports fan, as long as you enjoy like documentary series and just a really well done documentary that looks at things in real life. But it is a 8-episode series about different golfers on the PGA Tour, different events on the PGA Tour, and what was cool about this season, it was when the Live Golf Tour, the Saudi Arabia Golf Tour, the Saudi-owned golf tour, it was when this Live Tour, kind of started to take shape and come into being, and you saw, these press conferences, this from about a year ago now, where guys started defecting from the PGA Tour and joining the Live Golf Tour, and it's a really big story in the world of golf, still big to this day, and it's kind of changed the landscape of the PGA Tour a bit in the golf world. But I think one of the wildest contrasts is as I'm watching this, some of the guys that they were featuring on this Full Swing documentary ended up going from the PGA Tour to the Live Tour, and the guys doing the documentary would ask them, like, "Hey, are you going to go to the Live Tour? Are you going to do this?" And in press conferences and even on the documentary, the guys that ended up defecting are like, "Well, I don't really know. I'm going to go check it out, see what it's all about. Maybe I'll look into it a bit." But the guys that, Rory McIlroy and Ricky Fowler and Tiger Woods, guys that have stayed with the PGA Tour, immediately were like, "Look, they're doing what they're doing, but I'm happy to be in the PGA Tour." So it was a wild contrast. but a really well done series. I wrapped up the final episode on Friday, and they've already announced that they are currently filming for season 2, which is going to come out early next year. So I'm really excited about that. Love the game of golf. I'm a huge golfer, but yeah, definitely a really fun watch there. It's the NFL offseason. My second observation from this week. It may be the NFL offseason, but the NFL quarterback landscape is moving and changing, and some pieces are falling into place. The new league year begins this week, I think on Wednesday, so we'll start to see things more officially take shape. But everything is starting to move. This week, Derek Carr signed with the Saints on a 4-year deal. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones re-signed with the New York Giants. So they have him on a 4-year deal, which if you really kind of look at the details, is kind of a 2 years and we'll see kind of a deal. Lamar Jackson was given a franchise tag in Baltimore, but he can continue to negotiate with other teams. Baltimore would have the option to match. There's the buzz around Aaron Rodgers potentially going to the New York Jets has heated up, and so I'll kind of look at that. I think I'm happy to see Derek Carr land somewhere. I'm not terribly surprised that it's New Orleans. I thought it was going to be there or the Buccaneers. So yeah, not surprised, especially because I think the Saints head coach had coached with the Raiders at one time, so has maybe some relationship with Carr. But you know, I don't know what in the way of weapons, reliable, healthy weapons the Saints have anymore, but it's certainly an upgrade. And when you look at the changing landscape of the NFC South, the Falcons are terrible. The Buccaneers are in full rebuild. The Panthers made that huge trade with the Bears to get the number 1 overall pick. The Bears, in my opinion, fleeced the Panthers on that deal. But the Panthers now with the number 1 pick, they're saying that, you know, if they're kind of doing a money ball sort of a deal where you know, they've said that they're willing to negotiate that if if teams want to make offers, but I think they made that trade to go quarterback, and I think it's Stroud or Young. One of those two is going to end up as a Panther, so that's going to be a process. I think the New Orleans Saints have to be the favorite in the South, especially with Derek Carr. It's not saying a whole lot because that division still stinks, but you're the best of the worst, but you're still the best, I suppose. So yeah, I hope that he does well. I think it's the two sides, they mutually split, but the way the way that I've seen Raiders fans going off about Carr, I hope Carr goes down to New Orleans and has some success. Daniel Jones re-signing. We Matt and I on Huddle Up podcast throughout the season joked that we wanted this deal to happen because we want more of Daniel Jones in New York as Cowboys and Eagles fans. I think it's a smart deal for the Giants if you look at the numbers. But I mean, really, all jokes aside, the Giants outkicked their coverage last year. I think it makes sense to maintain. I think it makes sense to maintain the quarterback in that room, who didn't have hardly any weapons outside of Saquon Barkley. So the hope, if you're a Giants fan, is that he can continue to develop under Brian DeBoll, and get some actual wide receiver targets and weapons there. As a Cowboys fan, I hope last year was a flash in the pan and the Giants continue to suck. Lamar Jackson tagged. I'm not surprised that's the direction this thing goes. I didn't think the Ravens were going to let him walk. I think they will probably match any offer that other teams give him, if any other teams give him one. So I think he'll be a Raven next year, and they can go from there. I've seen a lot of people talk about, I can't believe nobody's going to give Lamar Jackson a huge dollar deal. And honestly, I'm not that surprised. And it has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson's talent. Lamar Jackson, I think, is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. The problem is he's gone 3 straight seasons where he hasn't played a full year, and now he wants Deshaun Watson money. Okay? And you saw Tyler Huntley come in and run the Ravens offense almost as effectively as Lamar Jackson. And I know he doesn't have weapons. I know he's never had weapons outside of Mark Andrews. But you can't have Tyler Huntley come in and run the offense almost as effectively as you and then ask for Deshaun Watson money. It's not going to work. So go out there, play a full season next year, perform extremely well. Hopefully the Ravens will bring in some pieces around you, give you more weapons, and then you can go get back next year. Aaron Rodgers potentially setting up, if he wants to move on from the Packers and continue to play in the NFL, because there's all of those questions that I don't believe have been answered yet. Here's the deal. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets become a contender in the AFC. I'm not saying they're going to win the AFC. I'm not even necessarily going to say they're going to win their division. But they have to be to me, they have to be in the conversation at least next year. You're going to get Breece Hall back. You have the rookie of the year on both sides of the ball. You have a defense that played extremely well. You had an offense that played pretty well, despite the fact that Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco were your trifecta from hell under center. And everybody knows I am not a fan of ayahuasca Rodgers. I am not a fan personally. Like, personally, I am not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. But on the field, the guy is still easily in the top 10. And maybe if he goes back to Green Bay, if he goes to the Jets, if he goes somewhere else, maybe that's one of our off-season topics for Huddle Up Podcast is, where does Rodgers rank? Because he's definitely in the top 10. I don't know that I'm willing to put him in the top 5 anymore, because I don't know if he cares enough to put him as a top 5 guy right now. But he's definitely top 10. So you want to take a Jets team that exceeded expectations last year with the trifecta from hell under center, and you lost your running back and you had other pieces get banged up. You get that team at full strength. Plus, if they add anybody else, another year under Robert Saleh, the Jets are going to be good. If you get Aaron Rodgers, the Jets are going to be really, really good. And then the last rumor, and I've seen people buzzing about it, joking about it, saying that Tom Brady is going to return to play for the Miami Dolphins. I truly, and I guess you can never say never, whether it's in the World Wrestling Federation or in the NFL. But I truly think Tom Brady is done. I said it when he retired. And, that video on the beach, I thought this whole season was a different year for Tom. And I know that he has regressed performance-wise over the last couple of years. But everything else, he looked human this year. He was more emotional this year for justifiable reasons. But I just don't see Brady having it in him to come back, learn a new team, and do this thing one more time. I think he's going to take this year away from football, let life settle down a little bit, and then he is going to join the Fox booth in 2024. Moving to the National Hockey League for observation number 3. The Flyers moved on from their GM. His first name's slipping my mind, but Fletcher is out. Daniel Briere in as the interim GM for the Flyers. That is an organization that has been in complete disarray here for a couple of seasons, and it's only continued to get worse. The Flyers right now, currently, third to last in the Eastern Conference at 24-31-11. It has just been an abysmal year. There's been a degree of bad luck for the Flyers. They're 59 points, third worst in the Eastern Conference. There is only 4 teams in the Western Conference worse than them. But here's the thing: the Fletcher getting fired, it was a needed step. I think it took far too long for it to happen. But also, I think it's only a very small part of what needs to happen. Comcast owns that team. They went from a tremendous ownership group when Ed Snyder was there. He started the team and was there up until a few years ago, the late Ed Snyder. And now you have an ownership group, a management group under Comcast that just doesn't seem to really know what they're doing and what they want to do. And it really is just a strange and unfortunate thing, because look, I hate the Flyers. I'm a Capitals fan. I live in PA. I hate the Penguins. I hate the Flyers. But the Flyers have always been a great organization and a well-run and respected organization. And for the last couple of seasons, especially like post-COVID, the crazy thing is just today, because this is the 3-year anniversary of when the National Hockey League announced that play was being suspended because of the COVID pandemic. And there was a meme, it was like the one where it's like somebody smiling, looking at a bubble, and it was like the Philadelphia Flyers, they were smiling. And the bubble they were looking at and smiling at was their Stanley Cup odds. Because the Flyers were on fire going into the spring of 2020. And then the second part of the meme is like when like an attack, like a cartoon is attacker is like sneaking up on it, and the meme was that it was the coronavirus. Because like the Flyers have really never recovered since then. They did not perform well in the bubble, and ever since fans have been back and the league has gotten back to normal, the team has continued their downward spiral. And I remember seeing games last year and this year where you watch the Flyers and there are empty seats in the lower bowl all over the arena. And I can never remember a time, even in bad seasons, where that happened. And it is a message from Flyers fans that they're not happy with the direction that the team is headed. So, just a crazy thing. But Danny Briere, former Philadelphia Flyer on the ice, is the new interim GM. But I think there's a lot more that needs to change in Philadelphia before it can get better. My fourth observation this week: people need to stop sleeping on the XFL. Here's the thing: if you are a football fan and you have not watched any XFL this year, I challenge you. Next week, the undefeated DC Defenders take on the undefeated St. Louis Battlehawks. Check out that game. Because to me, like it has been an exciting month with the XFL. The games have been entertaining. The rule differences between the NFL and them, I think, have made the product more enjoyable, faster moving, more competitive. And the game can change at a moment's notice because of some of the things that are different. Viewership is starting to come up. Today they had 38,000 in St. Louis at the Dome. They had to open up sections of the 400 level where the Dome, at America's Center, where like the Rams used to play. Because the credit to the football fans in St. Louis who had their NFL team ripped out from under them, they deserve this. It is great to see them enjoying it. The football's still good, and I know like I've seen people complain like, well, the quality's not like the NFL. Well, of course it's not. It's not the NFL. College football isn't the same as the NFL. But like I go to AHL hockey games, and it's not the same as the NHL, but it's still good hockey. This is still good football. Minor league sports or alternative league sports it's not going to be the same as Major League Baseball, as the NBA, as the NHL, as the NFL. But it can still be good, and these guys are still going out there because they have a passion and a drive to play these games. So I encourage you, check out one game next week. Check out the St. Louis Battlehawks versus the DC Defenders. Last observation this week, I hate how good the Boston Bruins are. They became the quickest team to 50 wins in the history of the NHL. They became the first team this weekend to clinch a spot in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Currently, they have played 65 games. They are 50, 10, and 5. The closest team to them in terms of wins in the league, the New Jersey Devils have 44, the Carolina Hurricanes have 43, and the Vegas Golden Knights have 41. The Bruins have 105 points. Carolina and New Jersey have 94. Nobody else is even in the 90s. The Bruins have a goal differential of plus 103. The next closest team to them in terms of point differential is the New Jersey Devils at plus 58. The Boston Bruins are almost double into the good goal differential compared to the team that is closest to them. And like they got better at the deadline. They made deals for Garnet Hathaway and Dmitry Orlov from the Washington Capitals. Like it just it is just insane how good they are. And I as much as I hate them, I think they did it right. You look at, in contrast to another Original Six NHL team, the New York Rangers made a lot of deals at the deadline, but the New York Rangers only made deals to booster themselves offensively. Okay. The Bruins built themselves on both sides, offensively and defensively. They have two great goaltenders. Like the Rangers are struggling to beat teams who aren't even in playoff spots right now. And the Bruins are out here just smoking every team that comes across. There's such a contrast between what the Bruins are doing and what like everybody else is doing, and it's pretty gross. I'm not gonna lie. They have to be the Cup favorites. I haven't looked at like Vegas odds for who is favored in the NHL, but to me there's no question that it has to be the Boston Bruins. I don't want them to. The last thing the city of Boston needs is another sports championship to make those people, the Boston sports fans, even more arrogant. But it certainly looks like this could be the Bruins' year. But Stanley Cup playoffs, but 15 games away, so late, about a month left in the regular season in the NHL. So that's going to wrap it up for me this week. I appreciate you checking out the show, make sure you are subscribed on all podcast platforms if you are not already, so you do not miss a minute of the Huddle Up action that comes throughout the week. And like I said, we'll be getting the off-season program of the Huddle Up podcast going here at the end of this month. So if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy what we're doing here, please make sure to share it with your friends. Encourage them to do the same. Subscribe to us, all podcast platforms, YouTube as well. You can follow us on social media at Huddle Up Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and like I said, on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Huddle Up Podcast. You can follow me at Big Jim Sports if you want, but really the main thing is follow the show. And until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and go for the win.